Hello guys, Gameboy Hub here, and today we are going to be doing another video on Windows XP, my favorite Windows version. And today we are going to be seeing what is the lowest amount of RAM that Windows XP will actually run under. So I wanted to do this experiment for a while and test out this type of video, and I also do want to do it for several Windows versions. So if you guys like this, definitely leave a like, and I might even do it for all Windows versions. So today we have two versions of Windows XP on hand. So the first one is just the regular ISO image for Windows XP Service Pack 1, so this is like the first vanilla version of Windows XP that we're going to be using. And the second one is Windows XP Super Small Lite, which is a super small version of Windows XP, and you can see that the ISO is only 94.7 megabytes. So we're definitely going to be trying this out, because when we hit the limit on the normal version of Windows XP, I'm just going to switch to this one and see if the RAM can get any lower. We are going to be, of course, using a virtual machine because I do not have that many RAM sticks for physical swapping out. So I already have the two ISOs right over here. We are going to be using VMware today, because from the comments of my other videos, I've gathered that you guys think that VMware is just better. So we're going to be sticking with this today. We're going to be making a new machine as we always do. And first, I'm just going to install the regular version of XP, and then later we'll install Super Small Lite to see if it gets any better. I will give it just like 10 gigs of space because we do not need more than that. So the minimum requirements are 64 megs of RAM, and the recommended are 128 megs. However, this was right after XP was released, so I think a gig is fair to start off with, because many PCs from the era ran either 512 megs, 1 gig, or some ran even 2 gigs. I believe my family Windows XP PC at the time had 1.5 gigs, so yeah. And we're gonna give it a dual core processor, and that is pretty much it. So we can click finish. And there we go. Now I'll just continue with the Windows XP installation, so I'll be right back when this is installed. And here we are in the fully set up version of Windows XP, so this is the Service Pack 1 version. And you can see that we are currently using, when nothing's happening, about 9% of the CPU and about 107 megabytes of RAM. So we should be able to go down to 107 at least. Alright, so on 1 gigabyte everything runs smooth as you would expect, nothing slows down, everything runs absolutely fine as you can see. So yeah, we're gonna go down to 512 megabytes and we are gonna see how the system behaves on that. So I will shut down the machine. And let's turn the memory down to 512 megs and see how everything runs on 512 megs. And everything booted very swiftly, as you can see. So right now we should have 512 megabytes of RAM. So let's make sure that we do indeed have that. Okay, everything is a bit less snappy than on 1 gigabyte, but that is to be expected. And here we go, we have 512 megabytes of RAM, and it recognizes our CPU normally. Yeah, everything is a bit more laggy when we halve the RAM, but that might also be because we're using a virtual machine. These things can be laggy even if you have like 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's check out the RAM usage right now. So here is our task manager, and we're once again using 103 megabytes of RAM. Alright, so this still seems to work pretty well, as you can see. Nothing really seems to be lagging, so let's go down to 256 megabytes. Alright, so we'll lower this slider down to 256 megs, press OK, and power on the machine. And it's still booted up pretty fast. However, all of the processes need to start in order for it to run smoothly. So here we have the system properties. You can see that we're running 256 megabytes of RAM. And yeah, as I said, everything is a bit more laggy. However, it is still completely usable without any problems. Everything runs smoothly, nothing lags, there are no glitches in the display, which is great. And we're still using the same amount of memory. However, the CPU usage does spike a little bit right now. I don't know if that's a pattern, if we'll see that often when changing the RAM. So maybe all of the intensive tasks get placed on the CPU and that's why it gets used more while idling. But yeah, let's go down to 128 megabytes. So we'll move the slider down once again, and this says guest OS recommended minimum 128 megabytes of memory. So we'll click OK and we'll see how XP runs under 128 megs. Okay, and the resolution has lowered by itself this time. That might be some kind of a memory saving measure that the OS takes. But when it lowered the resolution, now it runs. Whoa, what just happened? If you just added a monitor to the host computer, you must power off and power on the virtual machine. Oh god. Oh my god. That's not good. It looked fine when it booted up. What happened now? Oh no. Look at that loading up slowly by itself. I'll let it load and I'll see if it loads up the entire screen like this. Okay, yeah, it won't. So let's just shut down the machine and see. Whoa. Oh god, that is not the greatest look. Okay, so let's shut down this machine and try to reboot and see if it maybe fixes itself. Wow, those glitches are something else. I won't full screen the machine right now just because it might let it load better. Okay, we are once again loaded absolutely normally. Nothing seems to be the problem. Let's quickly check our properties before it glitches out, if it will even glitch out. Now we get, yep, there we go. It's still glitching. I have no idea why that would be the case. This is just so weird. Yeah, we can even click the buttons. Look at that. So everything works normally. However, it's just so messed up. Okay, well, I won't be checking the RAM usage right now, as it seems. Oh, oh god. Oh, well, yeah, that's not great. Do we call this usable? I mean, it works. The OS works, but it's not very usable. You can see that we are running 128 megs right here. Okay, let's lower it down to 64 megs and see if the glitches persist or what would even happen. Will it even boot with 64 megs? So I'll lower it down to 64 megabytes of RAM and let's power on the machine and hope it doesn't blow up. And yeah, all of them boot normally the first time, which is just so funny to me. So let's see if we still get the glitches right here. I'll try to go into properties once again, because it seems to run just fine right now. And yeah, now it will... Oh, why does it do that? Oh wait, now it's... Okay, that looks a little bit more usable than usual. Now we're in the My Pictures selection, so let's try to... Oh no. I clicked something and now I can't exit out of it. It still runs. We're still in the OS. Okay, I guess the next thing to try is try to go down to 32 megs. Oh my god, we're in the internet connection wizard. Okay, come on, just shut this off. So yeah, under 128 megs seems to be the problem. I'll Google this later and see if there maybe is an explanation on why this happens. But let's see if it will boot with 32 megabytes of RAM. I don't think it will even want to boot with this, but let's see what happens after all. Oh wait, we do get the startup screen. Come on XP, you can do it. Windows is starting up, okay. Oh no, no. We get delayed write failed. Windows was unable to save all the data. Data has been lost. Now we get a bunch of these messages. Come on, just let me in the OS, please. Windows cannot create a temporary profile directory. This might be caused by insufficient security rights. Whoa. I've never seen any of these errors. This is so interesting. We are still in the boot screen. I mean, we can click stuff. Does that mean the OS is still usable? Let's try to give it one more restart and see if it maybe starts up the second time. Oh, so this is just not an error. This is just a disk checker because we powered off the machine. Okay, please wait while you load our computer. Okay, I'm waiting for the restart right now. And yeah, we get the same error. So it won't boot with 32 megs of RAM installed, unfortunately. But yeah, it will get into the startup. So let's see what happens if we lower the memory over to 16 megabytes. So I'll go to edit the settings and put in 16 megabytes and click power on. Okay, we'll go for start Windows normally. And yeah, we just get this looping over and over again, so it won't even load into the startup. Let's try to select safe mode and see if that maybe loads. Nope, we just get this loop over and over. So yeah, 32 megabytes seems to be the end. So yeah, it won't boot with 32 megabytes anymore. So I don't know, let's maybe try like 28 megs or something. So I'll go here, let's go edit settings, and let's give it 26 megabytes of RAM and click OK. Okay, nearest correct values are 24 or 28. Let's give it 24 megabytes and then see if that might boot us into the boot up screen. And no, we just get the same loop, right? No! With 24 megs, it does actually show the startup screen. Okay, we get the disk check. This also works as it seems. Let's see if it'll check the disk normally. And now we get a different error. isas.exe system error, the endpoint format is invalid. And yeah, it just reboots. So with 24 megs, it can show the startup screen and the disk check, but of course it won't get into the OS. All right, so now I'll try to install the other version that we got. So that should be Windows XP Super Small Lite. So I'll select this ISO and I'll make a virtual machine. I'll call it Windows XP Professional Super Small Lite and click next. We'll give it 10 gigs of storage as we did with the other one. And I'll start with 128 megabytes for the installation. So yeah, that should be fine for this version. And this is in the minimum requirements still. So I'll just click finish. And I might actually take you a little bit through this installation because I've never installed this version of Windows before. So there might be something interesting that happens. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, we'll install it on the unpartitioned space. So this is just the same as it always is for now. Okay, and we first get the installing devices screen, which is quite interesting. Wow, and it installs 7-zip by default in the installation. That is pretty cool. And that can be quite useful actually for Windows XP. Will this just boot into the desktop after this? Yeah, it restarted. We get the normal XP startup screen. Okay, now it's applying our computer settings. I also love this funky logo that they drew. Okay, and there we go, we seem to be in the OS. So system properties, we get the Windows 11 logo for some reason, and we have Microsoft Windows XP Professional Service Pack 3, Service Pack 3 Super Small Lite right here, and here are our 128 megabytes of RAM. So I'm guessing this is the guy that made this ISO, so definitely go check him out if you want to. Okay, I'll just click OK, and here we also have the About Windows window, so I'll click OK. So here is the device manager, it probably wants us to set everything up right now. And yeah, I've also seen that this has like a different theme applied, but this is just Windows XP at its core. You can see that everything runs absolutely smoothly. So let me go into properties and see if I can maybe get the screen resolution up. Yeah, we can actually change all the way up to full HD. But I'll just leave it on the smallest one just because that might mess something up when we lower the RAM. I'm guessing that might be what caused the graphical glitches in the other version. And let's change this to 64 megabytes of RAM and see how Windows Super Small Lite performs under such low RAM. So I'll power on this machine and see what happens. And here we are in the OS, and with 64 megs, everything seems to run as smooth as it did before. So there we go, you can see that we have 64 megabytes of RAM installed, and everything seems to run absolutely fine. We have the Task Manager shortcut right here, which is very useful for this video. So let's check out the Performance tab, and you can see that this OS only uses 41.7 megabytes, which, yeah, we couldn't check that under the normal installation of Windows XP, how much it was using after I lowered the RAM under 100 megabytes. But yeah, this one only uses 41.6, so we'll definitely try to go lower now. So let's power this off and see what happens when we hit 32 megabytes. So I'll go for 32 megs right here, and let's see if this powers on. Okay. We get all of the startup screens absolutely normally. Oh my god, there we are in the OS with 32 megabytes of RAM. Wow, there we go. It even recognizes it as 32 megabytes. Let's check out the Task Manager. Everything runs completely smoothly, which is incredible. Yeah, the CPU is working out quite a lot. The page file usage is still at 41 megabytes, but yeah, we still seem to have like 3 megabytes of available memory. This is the total and this is the system cache. So yeah, it seems that we are still able to maybe go lower. Let's go down to 24 megabytes and see if it will boot then. So we'll go down to 24 and press OK and click power on virtual machine. And oh my god, this thing just booted up with 24 megabytes of RAM. Everything is incredibly laggy, but it still works, which is just absolutely incredible. Let's try to open up the properties. And there we go, 24 megabytes of RAM. That is crazy. So this OS runs pretty much without any problems, except for the slowness of it on 24 megs of RAM. That is incredible. That is just really incredible. Here we go, the CPU usage is still the same, the page file usage is still the same. We still have about 1 to 2 megabytes of RAM available, so you know what we gotta do next. Let's lower this down to 16 megabytes. Here we go, 16 megs of RAM. I'll press OK and click power on. And finally, we do get the blue screen of death. Okay, well, it had a long run, honestly. Just for fun, I'll try 20 megabytes and see if it maybe boots with that. Wait, it didn't loop like before. Oh my god, is it actually going to boot with 20 megabytes? Oh my god. This just booted up with 20 megabytes of RAM. There we go. Everything takes 5 seconds to open up, but this is actually running on 20 megabytes of RAM. Let me try to get into the properties to prove to you guys. And there we go, 20.0 megabytes. That is crazy. Let's check out the Task Manager. And it still has about 600 kilobytes. It even passed 1,000 now of available memory. You know, we do need to try 18 just to see if it boots. Since 16 won't work, we do have to try 18 if that is a possible configuration. Let's see if it is. Unfortunately, it's not, so we can do either 16 or 20. So the lowest amount of memory for the normal version of Windows XP seems to be 64 megabytes, and the super small light version runs on as low as 20 megabytes, which is absolutely crazy if you ask me. And the regular version had graphical glitching when lowered under 128 megabytes. So yeah, that graphical problem seems to have something to do with VMware tools being installed. But even if you uninstall it, the machine won't go under 64 megabytes. Maybe it would run at like 60, but yeah. And the super small light version runs on 20 megabytes, which is absolutely crazy. So yeah, this one definitely is superior and runs on lower spec hardware. If you guys want me to do a further video on Windows XP Professional Super Small Light, I definitely am open to that. And yeah, also sorry if I was checking the page file usage instead of the actual RAM usage throughout the video, but that is pretty much the same thing. The page file is like an extension of your RAM that is a bit less fast and reliable than actual RAM. But yeah, you guys can check out the actual RAM usage in the bottom right of that window if you want to. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Also, we do have a join button now, so for as low as $1 a month, you can really help out the channel. And you do also get all of these videos a day early, as well as some special emojis for the chat and comments. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.